My name is Veronica Rosenfeld, CEO of You Rise Movement. When you clearly know who you are and what is very next for you, you rise to your greatness and step to your destiny. Why clarity? I deeply believe that clarity can change the world. Because when you clearly know who you are and what is very next for you, you rise to your greatness, you step to your destiny. But most importantly, you create that peace inside of you. And the peace inside of you creates peace outside. And it's eradicate world wars. It's also the environment. The environment is heating up by our wars, by thoughts and beliefs and worry. And what if all of us are going to be in peace? The environment will react to it, and the planet is going to go back to its balance. So that's the reason why I so deeply believe in clarity. The other piece of that is masterminds. The shortcut to get to the next level is to listen from people who've been there and can show you how to get there without your struggle. I always joke and I always say that I believe in three things. I believe in God, I believe in my kids, and I believe in power of masterminds. Because I came to this country with no English and heavy disability and heavy learning disability. And I finished college in 4 years. How did I do it? Well, I called it group study, power of masterminds. I connected people who were smarter and spoke English. And I found the answers from previous years. And I connected all people together. And I got my answers. And it was a mastermind. So here that is. And today we have an amazing speaker, Jeremiah Knight. The author and one of the most amazing people I've ever met. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Hey, you guys are awesome, and I believe in your dreams. I want to give a shout out to the Supermom. Hey, what's up, Supermom? You're awesome. I believe in your dreams.
Hey.
I know it's really late over there in Atlanta, and thank you. Thank you so much for coming out.
You're welcome.
What can I say about myself? Goodness gracious. I'm 1.6% Cameroon. I learned that from Ancestry.com. So my half-black son doesn't think I'm black enough. I don't know what that means. Is that true? Is that true, son? Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. So Diaries of a Holy Night. Okay. A lot of people, they ask me, like how hard is it to make a book? And I like to give them a real sweet answer. It's incredibly difficult. There's no real good way of just transitioning into a book. I'm not Stephen King. I do things my way, and for years I told myself that I can't write this book, just self-doubt, and self-doubt kills dreams. And I did this over and over again, literally for 7 years. You are better than Stephen King. Patty Sadler, you're the best publisher in the world, and I love you. Oh yeah, Supermom, my publisher's on here. She's awesome.
Oh, hey, remember we got that thing bigger than Harry Potter. Remember?
That's right. That's right. It is actually. It's written. That's right. It was written on the thing. It's downstairs. Love that. I did that on her. What is it? Vlog? Something like a podcast on your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Forgot what those things are called. I've been on so many now.
Hey, but famous. Anyway, I'm glad I got you before you got too big.
Supermom, hey, I love your heart, and God has huge plans for you, girl. Okay. No, so it took me 7 years to like weed through the book and get the concept and get the flow going, and then it still wasn't complete. I put it up there. There was a lot of mistakes made, and then Patty Sadler back in 2018 reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I want to publish your book." I said, "Okay," and then I waited a year because I was still trying to figure out God's plan for me. I was still trying to take control of what God had for me. Mm-hmm. And that just doesn't work. When we take over, we're stopping the King of everything from blessing us, from pouring into us. Mm-hmm. So, a year went by and I said, "Patty, let's do this." And she was like, yeah, let's go. She wasn't having dental work done back then, so I could actually see her. But dental work happens. It happens.
Yeah.
A couple weeks after we got it, sorry, not videoing today for dental work, if you were wondering. I was wondering, but you just answered my wonders, and I thank you. Oh, man.
Thank you.
Veronica, you look beautiful. Hey, can I give a couple shout outs real quick? Renee, yeah. I loved your live yesterday. It was fantastic. I must have went through it 7 different times, but it was awesome. Carolyn, you got huge things going on in your life, and I think that's the same person twice, which is even better than one. All right, we got Veronica. You're fantastic. I love you. Teresa Snyder, you're the best. Go ahead here. And then Patty Sadler, love you, girl. Okay. Now let's get back to Diaries of a Holy Night. So yeah, this book here. This is the refined manuscript that I gave to Patty Sadler. We updated the cover, and we did a whole bunch of things that I hadn't done with the first book. And the first book wasn't terrible. I still sold 10,000 copies of it. So it was about $1,700 worth, and I lost money on the whole deal because I paid $1,250 to an editor that robbed me. And she came under the guise of Christian. But I went through this thing called it was Thumbtack at the time, and I was looking for an editor for the book, and she said I'm a Christian, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the one I want. That wasn't the one I want. But actually, now that I think about it, it kind of is. Oh, man. Sorry about that.
Jeremiah, I just love your sense of humor.
I know, me too. He's a lot of fun.
I'm a corrections officer, so I have to, I got to be, adjust to a lot of different situations. And then, get pee thrown on me. There's normal and not normal things that happen. I'm used to it though. I've got kids. So if it's a 3-year-old or a 46-year-old, it's all about the same. They smell a little different, And let me tell
they
you,
have the same things going on at both ages.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're both about incontinent. Yeah.
Incontinent.
But
Hey,
Teresa,
Teresa,
you are so awesome. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Veronica, hey, thank you so much for clarifying a lot of things. By the way, when I first met Veronica, I was kind of just shooting at a bunch of different alleys. And after talking to Veronica, she kind of did. She clarified where I needed to go, and I needed that. And then a couple months later, I'm like, after not listening to her, much like I didn't listen to Patty, I finally went with Patty. And New Life Clarity Publishing has changed my life. And as soon as I get paid, the lives of my kids.
Well, I believe that sometimes God give us like a word that kind of our path. So for me, it was the word rainmaker, and I literally, somebody came to me and says, "You're a rainmaker," and it was in the middle of my breakdown. And then I go to Paris, then I don't know anybody, and the guy says, "I own rainmaker.org, and I want to partner with you." And then I go to 4th of July to Arizona from California. Normal people don't do it, but it's so cool because the airport is empty, everything is empty because nobody goes to Arizona 100 degrees from cool San Diego on 4th of July. Nobody. But Veronica does. And I go with, and my friend lives like in a mansion, and she brings me to her custom kitchen where I'm certified chef. Everything is great. And she's like, "I'm so exhausted. I have to go to this conference, rainmaker.org." And this conference started my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think your word is clarity. So whatever, because look, like me and Patty, we are similar in many ways. We connected, we know who we are. And like, and she had a process like mine, and then she decided to go to publishing, where I stick to the process that I'm doing. And so like, I think clarity is your word.
I like it.
So whatever comes with clarity, pay attention to it.
I'll take
and what
that.
change? Like, it's like for a season. Like for me, like I know there is different words for me.
Cool. Veronica's an expert.
Oh,
That's
thank
what
you.
we'll talk about.
How are you?
She's absolutely an expert. I'm not too much of an expert on anything except for pine cones and sriracha. Guys,
why don't you share what started your book? Why did you decide that you want to write the book?
Oh, brother, I doubt that. Okay, so growing up, I read a lot of fantasy, and I went over this in the podcast with Supermom, and I love fantasy. I always loved the concept of it, and I loved Christian fantasy like Narnia, and I always wanted C.S. Lewis to take more of a stance with Jesus being a part of Narnia instead of just the undertone of Narnia. And I understand why he did it. He did it because he wanted to reach a broader audience for Christ, and I love that. But I really, growing up, I felt convicted to make a fantasy about Christ specifically. Now, I've written many other books, but they're not about Christ specifically. So I never really tried to publish those because I always told God, I was like, you gave me this gift. I'm not going to waste it on these other things. I want it about you. And so when I moved down here back in 2008, my wife's twin sister went missing. She had gotten murdered by her ex-boyfriend. So we came down here to adopt my wife's twin sister's kid. And we stayed in Thief River Falls, Minnesota at the time for a couple of years until it just looked like he was either going to get adopted by us or go into foster care. And we're like, no, we're going to come down and do this. So we did. We moved down here, me and my wife. We moved from Thief River Falls, Minnesota down here and adopted our son. And I was going to, it was called the Christian Life Church here in Orange Beach, Alabama. And we were helping out with the youth. And one time after a youth event, we had all the kids over at the apartment. We had some youth pastors. We were all just chilling. And I said, hey, I'm going to do a book about you kids because they were one way at school and they were a different way at church. And I always wondered, like, what would happen if they saw God so real? But I also did a Facebook Live about this because what's the purpose of faith if God was so real in front of us all the time? But when they got back, they would still have to deal with knowing God is real, but in a world where it's very anti-God in a lot of aspects. So that's why I started writing it. But in 2013, wife got pregnant. And then raising our baby and getting all these jobs to pay for that baby, and it's been very interesting because I also changed my perspective on that. Instead of hating where I was, I started loving that I was at a beach, and when you change your perspective, when you change your heart towards things like when you put out good comes back. You sow what you reap, and I love it. And I tell myself every day I wake up, I am the greatest Christian fantasy author of all time. Diaries of a Holy Night, the in-between, is going to sell 1 billion copies. And I'm talking about physical copies. But I know these things are going to happen. It's one step at a time. Tyler Perry actually has a saying, and I think it's an ancient Chinese proverb. He said, every day is like a drop of water, and every one of your dreams is like a bucket. And you get to choose every day what you do with that drop. And whatever you put into the most is going to fill up, and then you can go on to your next dream and on to your next dream. But if you try to put those drops in every one of your buckets, none of them are going to fill up. And that's actually why, I don't know, I love Tyler Perry.
That's fantastic.
That's good.
I love that coffee at 10 o'clock at night. Isn't that good?
I agree. I'm drinking tea.
That's what I'm talking about.
I have water.
It's 11 o'clock here, so I'm trying to stay awake.
Yeah, she's in Atlanta. Supermom's in Atlanta.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
I have sometimes we have people from India and Africa just joining in. Like, you never know.
Oh yeah, and that definitely is a time difference. That's for sure.
Gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, I have a guy from India who I didn't send him. He probably forgot today, but I have a guy from India who like wakes up at 7 o'clock in the morning to listen to my stuff.
Oh,
This is the best.
mm-hmm.
Also, Renee's the best.
He and Jeremiah, they both like always here.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what, if anything is possible, Jeremiah, what would you want your book to do for the world?
Oh gosh, I want my book in everybody's hands so that first they would have faith in God, second that they would get saved, and third to end world hunger. No, I'm just kidding. To just to start living in the way that we were designed to live in. You know, I believe that we were all designed to have that God-shaped hole in our hearts filled.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, of course there would be a lot less war, but then I'm sure there would be odd wars over different denominations of the Bible. There's always going to be war.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee.
What do you think?
Jeremiah, is there a hole in your cup?
I know.
No, I drank it. That's all gone now. I wish there was more.
You gotta have a pitcher. You got to have a thermos next to you. You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
That you could refill. Yeah, that's the key.
It's on the other side of this wall. I'm actually instead of doing this in my office, because I've got an office downstairs, I did this in my upstairs. What is this?
Dining area.
Dining. Yep, that's it. That is it. I'm like looking at candles. Look, this is what I'm looking at here. Like, what? Why would I have this many candle holders? There's no candles. And look, there's actually a candle holder over there too.
That's okay.
And a unicorn.
Jeremiah, what do you think your superpower is?
My superpower?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dealing with 3 kids and not going crazy. Actually, I might have lost my mind already. Yeah, what my superpower would be? I just believe in people's dreams, you know, and that's, for me, that was like a guiding force, you know, and it still is, you know. I love going onto people's streams, you know, like super moms or Teresa's or Renee's or Patty's or, you know, Tamara's or Teresa's, and just pouring out my my love and support for these people. I love doing that. And I think if we had more people doing that, a lot more dreams would be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so just believing in people's dreams. I mean, personally, I'm just a guy with a cell phone, and there, you know, there's just people out there with cell phones that could support other people. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
Oh, and you do it so beautifully, Jeremiah. It's really, really refreshing and very healing.
Oh, thank you.
You are the super night power.
Thank you so much, Carol. By the way, I hope you enjoy the book. I can't wait for you to get it.
Well, I'm going to say, you know, for one thing, Jeremiah is spectacular, and I believe in his dreams. And I'll tell you what, he's a really good author. He's got another book coming out, and this is part of this trilogy that he has created, and it's going to rock the world. But let me say that one of his superpowers really is not only just telling people that he believes in their dreams, but he really shows up for everybody else. And because of that, a lot of people they feel loved by him, they feel appreciated by him, and it's really easy to love him back because he is he's just so caring about other people's dreams. And so one of the reasons I wanted to do his book was because I wanted him to know that he was being heard, and that somebody else wanted to help him create his dream, you know.
And I greatly appreciate that.
And
It's so great.
it's a blessing because, you know, he's just a really fantastic person, and he comes from his heart.
Mm-hmm.
These are all true.
That's
These
an
are all
awesome
true.
compliment. Yeah. I
Oh,
feel that way too, you know. And you know, we
that,
need people that are more encouraging. I'm telling you, because it's a rough world out here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He takes a stand for everybody. I see him on all the videos.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder when you have time for all of that.
You know, I actually have a lot
to
of
agree with
downtime.
her.
You know, well, because when I'm at work, you know, I have, you know, here's the thing. You know, we've got a couple different pods that I just keep an eye on them. You know, mostly I'm just concerned about the meth heads. And when we're waiting in between, you know, like our 10, here's the thing. You know, I come from a predominantly white area down here in Alabama, so we have a lot of white crime. It's like 98% of our people are. And when they come in, it's mostly meth. And I actually noticed this with the Caucasians. If we get a Caucasian, they're either drunk or they're on meth. And so when they come in, you know, especially if they're on meth, we just kind of shove them into a cell real quick after doing a search. They go off to county in the morning because it's a felony. You know, they always scuffle. But, like, I have a lot of time in between those 10, 15s. And so I'm just sitting there on the phone telling people they're awesome. And then at around 1 in the morning, 1 to 5 o'clock in the morning, I start typing. So that's how my day goes.
Fantastic. So you start doing your videos and you have like 2,000, 4,000 views, like ridiculous amount of views. How do you do that?
I just I send it to a bunch of groups. Actually, you know, I couldn't send this link out on Messenger because I'd sent out, you know, links from Facebook so much that they're like, we're going to block you from doing this. But that's what I do. I just take the videos that I do and I send them out to groups, and I've actually been kicked off of many of those groups. But, you know, as long as they don't kick me off, I just keep sending them to those groups.
I like the approach. I should follow that too. Because people say don't send those, and I'm like, I'm being nice, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it just depends on the group, because some of them, you know, they like for you to do it. It's really crazy though, because it's like, if you're in a group of like-minded people, why shouldn't you be able to share? I don't understand that.
Exactly. Well, you know, I've noticed with a lot of the Christian groups, in particular the Christian book groups, is it was designed by a specific author. And, you know, this author has 3 different pages for that one group, which I think is very interesting. And if you're not promoting their book specifically, which you don't find out until you join the group, you know, then they just, they stop putting your stuff up. And so I just leave the group, or they kick you out of the group completely. And, you know, a lot of the people just stay, you know, but, you know, for me, I'm just like, well, if you're not supporting me, I'll just go to somewhere else.
Right.
I still believe in their dreams. I mean, they haven't done anything to negatively affect mine.
Right. You know, but it takes a village. You know, I mean, you look at Jesus, he had 12 disciples. So a lot of people get that idea of thinking I'm an island, and it just doesn't prosper doing that.
No.
You know, you got to get help from other people.
Absolutely. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because without Patty, this book would still be in a kind of limbo purgatory. It's true. It's true. Because I was trying to do everything myself without God.
Right.
And God's like, hey, I got this girl, you know, kind of like when God was talking to Satan about Job. He's like, have you heard about my guy Job? But no.
Right.
But it's like, I got this girl, Patty. She's gonna help you out. So after I humbled myself, not really, you know, I just went ahead. I don't know if y'all seen my videos.
I'll tell you, I think it really was divinely inspired though, because the timing for, and you know, God has perfect timing. Sometimes things just don't go. I mean, when we try to force it, we try to do it our own way. It doesn't always serve our best interests to not follow our inspiration. But
Mm-hmm.
and Veronica knows what I mean by that. But the thing is I feel like when we make connections, he puts us in a place where we can actually connect, but he also has divine timing. So it's not in our time, it's in his. And it just happened that I was the one that was blessed to be able to be there. I mean, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you.
Can I give a shout out to Amy J. Morrison from the Friend Zone? What's up, girl?
Yeah.
You're awesome. I believe in your dream.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Nice to connect with you.
Sorry I'm late.
No. Actually, you showed up exactly when you needed to, because now we can transition to you. I'm just kidding.
Thanks.
You're the best. I
Well,
absolutely
Patty,
agree.
So,
he does
Jeremiah,
compliment you on all your videos.
oh, go ahead. Jeremiah, since you're an author,
Sure.
what books changed your life?
What books changed my life? Well, obviously the Bible. Gosh, what other books changed my life? There was a bunch growing up. Obviously, the Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe was a huge one for me, just because it kind of opened up my imagination. The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion. All the Harry Potter books, even though that became unpopular with the church I went to. Hunger Games, Twilight, all these books, I read them and I try to glean the story. I want to see other people's writing styles. I don't personally have to agree with the message, but I love seeing different people's perspectives on this. As a Christian, nothing's going to change the way that I believe, because, I love Jesus and Jesus lives inside of me. So I'm not going to change that. So, but, growing up, those are just some of the books. There's also one I think called Beach Music. And it was just like this kind of off the wall book that my mom had picked up at a library, and I read it. And there was something about it. There was like a magic about that book that I really liked, but it was not for kids. There was, and actually I read it when I was 13, and there was actual sex scene in it. So not for kids. But the writing style was very, very entertaining, and it was about overcoming, childhood. Childhood's, difficult in most situations. In any situation. I grew up on a farm. I knew people that were dying from gunshot because of hunting accidents and falling into, bailing machines, so it's, or, freezing to death during the cold winters that we have in Minnesota. But, those are just some of the books that affected me growing up.
I have a question. So, you mentioned that you feel like you can read different things, but still it doesn't affect your faith. How do you feel that, because raising kids, we try to limit what our kids watch or
yes.
what
Well, so do I.
Exposed to as a Christian. So how do you determine what they can be exposed to? If you feel like it doesn't really have an impact on you, you know what I'm saying? You think certain maturity?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. I think you need a discerning spirit. My foundation is set now. Should I have read all this stuff growing up back before I became a Christian? No. But then again, when Christ did come in my life, a lot changed. I don't know. But, I obviously don't allow my kids to listen to music with swearing or play violent video games. I don't know, Supermom. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
I just thought about it myself because, you kind of have this just in general, I think being a parent, it's like you want to make sure you do the right things. But one of the things that I'm finding, even with coaching, is that, being able to embrace people's story and not being so judgmental about it. And
Oh,
so
I see.
you
Okay.
can appreciate, just, hey, they do something different, not that what they're doing is wrong, kind of like, it's like if you know who you are, just like what you were saying, you feel like your faith is not going to waver. However, being able to understand when is that, but I look at Josiah in the Bible. The kid was 8 years old and God called him to be king. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
So he was
That's
wise
actually,
in a lot of ways. So,
that's who I named my
yeah.
son after.
Oh,
My-
okay. So, I'm wondering, it's like, so shoot, I don't know. I just had that question when you said that. That's what made me think about it. So I don't know.
But also Josiah, when he grew up, he still thought, he was better than God in one aspect. He tried to take his soldiers and attack Pharaoh Necho when Pharaoh Necho was sent by God to go fight the Hittites.
Right.
So, sometimes I don't know. I love Josiah. Josiah's my favorite because he goes into the treasury, or, as they're cleaning out the treasury, they're like, hey, it's the book of the law. We're doing everything wrong. And then Josiah's like, well, burn down all those altars. We're going to go straight back to the fundamentals. But yeah, I don't know.
Well,
That's
we
why I
will
love you, Supermom.
other people answers. So if anybody has a questions, because usually at this part we usually open to other people's questions. Anybody else has questions for Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, what do you plan to do with all that money you're going to get?
Well, buy a yacht. I mean, why not? No. No, we're going to be investing into the Chemo Buddies. 10% of all the proceeds I get are going into Chemo Buddies. 10% go into Bling Life. And then the other 10 is tithe. And so I told God I can live off of 70% of $1 billion. We'll work that out.
I know that. Yeah.
Amy's like, yeah, maybe 70%. No, I'm just kidding, Amy. You're the best. No, I see that's where we're going. I don't know. I wrote out a check for $10 billion. So I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know that God's going to get us there, and we're going to improve missions all over the world. I have a real big heart for China and Africa. And my son wants to go to Africa. Obviously, he wants to help out those people there because every time because he's half African American, so he doesn't like what's going on in Africa for his own people, and that makes sense. I don't like what's going on in Lithuania for my people. It's very poor over there. But I'm out of coffee. Anyway, so a yacht, big yacht. It's got to have at least 6 decks. No, I'm not even going to do that. Probably just going to improve this house. We're right over there by the water. Have I ever showed you guys the water? There's a bay right over this way. Like you could see it from our thing, and it leads right out to the ocean. I showed Renee yesterday.
That's awesome.
Remember that, Renee?
Yes.
You're the best.
Jeremiah was just terrific. I don't know if anybody saw my Facebook Live, and Amy was fabulous too. I did something for anybody that didn't see it. I will share if I may.
Yes.
I interviewed one of the executive producers who reached out to me to interview her, Linda West. She asked if I would interview her on a live broadcast. And I said, absolutely, I'd be happy to, I'd be honored to. So she asked what platform I'd be using. I said Facebook. She said that I should just go on, what's the one we use, StreamYard. And I knew Amy had used it before, and I said, well, if I need to reach out, I will, but I can Google it. So I was at my mom's house Googling how to use StreamYard, and I'd been a guest on their show on StreamYard, but never the host of the show. So I Googled how to do it, and I figured I could handle this, not a big deal, just follow the directions. So we go on, and I asked Linda if she would meet with me in the room there, that you go into before you go live, like 15 minutes before the show, just to, for anything she wants me to ask her or any specifics or anything I had questions on. So we do. ready, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I go live. The show is great, get a lot of feedback. Of course, Jeremiah is great. And then Amy, I think, popped in also and said, it's great. And then the show ends and I sign off. However, what I didn't know is how to leave the actual platform. I never looked at how to do that. And in the broadcast, I'm being completely transparent here, and I actually went back on Facebook and made a post about it. I talked about failing forward, and I talked about being imperfectly perfect. Well, those things that I said, the universe heard me and said, there you go. And it happened to me, the one that said it's okay to do that. It actually came back to smack me upside the head. And the thing I did was not something I'm proud of, but I posted it. And actually, I am actually writing a book as well, and I actually put it into a chapter. And the title of it is Imperfectly Perfect. I immediately freaked out. Like, oh my God, because I left it running because I got a text message on Messenger from Linda saying, Renee, it's still going live. I'm like, what? I X'd out of it. Well, just because you X out doesn't mean you're out of it. You just close the app. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my, I freak out. I'm like, oh my God, who would know this? Jeremiah, Amy. Like, Amy's like, oh, I didn't even know you can edit. Tamara, I called Tamara Hunter. I'm like, Tamara, oh my God, I did this. She's like, oh, okay. Well, you can hide it. I'm like, you can hide it? How do you hide it? Go to the 3 dots. I'm like, go to the 3 dots, hit hide. Then it had said like there were 200, whatever, something, a bunch of views. Then I'm like, okay, good, it's hidden. Well, it wasn't completely hidden on Facebook because I looked at it again and it says another 10 people viewed it. I'm like, oh my God. I am freaking out about this whole thing. The one that said it's imperfectly perfect, God help, it happened to me. And I was like, not so good with it, but I'm telling others it's okay. So then here's the thing with this, the lesson that God gave me, and God bless Jeremiah, Amy, everybody was helping me through, Tamara. And, Linda posed a question. She said, Renee, question for you. She said, are you wanting to hide it and take it down? Which I did, thought I hid it. You went because of your audience, because of you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's something to think about. I'm like, uh-oh. It wasn't because of my audience. It was because of me not being perfect. And that was, here I am on the live feed saying it's okay for others. And I even said that I even said I'm not perfect. Things happen, also. But when that happened, I was not so okay with it. And so, that was my own wake up call. And I thank God yesterday at the end of that day when I did my gratitude thing, I said, thank you for having that happen. And because even though I freaked out, and I thank God I had Jeremiah with me, thank God Tamara answered, Amy was there for me. And it was my own lesson. Thank you, Jeremiah. To know that it really is okay to be imperfectly perfect. And you can't do as I say, but not as I do. Right. I didn't realize I was saying, I knew I was saying it's okay. And I knew I even said that I mess up too. I said that right out there on the Facebook pro. I said, I do it too. But yet when it actually happened, my first thing was, fight or flight. Like, get me out of here. Right. I can't put this out there. Oh my God, I left this thing running. It was such a great interview. Right. This is a big film. I know the producers of this film. I know the executive producers. I know the man that this film is about. And this is a huge thing. And she asked me to do this whole interview. It's really a big deal. So I was not so okay with, of all things, it wasn't a regular live. It was a big, huge film. It's all over Facebook if you look about this film. I know right. the movie, who the guy is about. He knows me personally. I know him personally. I know several of the executive producers. I know at least 3 or 4 of them. So I know these people. And she asked me to interview her, which was a big deal to me. And then that happened. I'm like,
and you did a great job, Renee. It was fantastic. The whole thing was fantastic.
As I leave, and then she's like, Renee is left. I'm like, oh my. So I didn't know, but then I added on to it. If you look at the post.
Now, so how do you feel?
What?
I was saying, so how do you feel today? You know what I mean? Because
I feel good moment. Because also Linda said to me, she was Renee. She said she messes up all the time, and you let it rip. She was by Wednesday, people won't remember it, so you got to forget it by tonight. She said, but people they won't remember. People on to the next thing. But what I did do is I added to my post. I kind of did a caveat to it. I did I said after the first thing that I was interviewing, I said that I talked about this in this interview, yet when it happened to me, but then I just let it go. And I said, I'm letting it run in its imperfectly perfect state, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm. That, and that is so funny because you have to be careful what you're going to have on your show. I mean, I've had that happen to me where people talk to me about faith or perseverance, and I have all kind of technical things go on, and it's like, what is going on here? It's like you're being tried with whatever topic you talk about. So just in the future, just be forewarned.
What you're being tried and what you're talking about?
Yeah, so whatever topic comes up, sometimes you end up being tried by that during the...
Exactly.
Yes,
Every time
yes.
I coach writers, book writers, or people who create a program or anything, they're usually challenged by the topic they write on. So Renee, you're just learning your own topic so you can teach and help others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why.
And what you don't realize is I'm putting it on YouTube channel. So now this whole thing gonna be on YouTube on top of Facebook.
Renee, you're the best.
But I needed to put it out there because when it happened to me, I needed to let others know that that's okay.
Right.
And it was my own lesson from the universe that it is okay. Don't just say it's okay, but not really make it okay. It is okay.
Right. So, and to see the support that you get, because a lot of times we're thinking it's all me, and then when you see other people come and help out, it's like it's not as bad as what you were envisioning it to be.
You have a good night, Carol. You're the best.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any more questions for Jeremiah, or are we gonna wrap it up?
Nice meeting you, Miss Carolyn.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
It was very nice to meet you, Caroline. Looking forward to connect.
Bonne chance, Dieu vous bénisse. Oh, what's up, Amy?
So do you guys have any more questions for Jeremiah, or are we complete for today?
I mean, I've been on both of their shows before. Supermom knows me way, way good.
Yeah, I was up with you this morning. You were in Carline.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this morning. My daughter was being so whiny, so I was like, oh, she's super. I'm not sad. I was like, where did that come from? You could have been nice the entire time as I was getting you ready for this car line. But as soon as I go live, you're just like, I'm good now. People watching.
Yeah.
Oh, kids.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you. It's
nice to meet you.
And finally, in face to face, you and I wanted to connect for a long time.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. Well, I think we're gonna complete, and thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for being here. So
this was awesome. This was awesome. I can't see my hands, so I got to keep them in frame.